Joining us now on the Fan Hotline is a guy that I saw weed whacking it the other day. That's Jason Mackey of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, the Fan Hotline presented by Sullivan Super Service, providing trusted plumbing and HVAC service for over 50 years. Jason, good morning to you, pal. How's it going?
Oh, going well, man. You saw me doing a little yard work out there, huh?
I did. First, you were whacking
Mount
it.
Lebanon, buddy.
Yeah, you were weed whacking it, and then I saw you blowing it later with the, that's what I saw you doing. All right, so Mackey. Well, there's a lot of deeper stuff we want to get into because, my God, we've combed over everything today. But just for the record, did you agree or disagree with what Derek Shelton did pulling Skenes after 7?
I guess at the end of the day, I agree with it. I don't like it. I mean, do I realistically think that he's going to make it through 2 more innings under 120 pitches? No, I don't. I don't know. I mean, the old school baseball person in me is offended. I'm like, you can't take a guy out of a no-hitter. What are you doing? But, yeah, I mean, I look at Paul Skenes and what he represents to this franchise's future, and I get it. I mean, if it would maybe be 10 pitches fewer, if he's sitting there at 89, I'd be extremely upset.
Yeah,
and I don't think they would have taken him out at 89. But, yeah, I get it.
Jason, do you think it was a mutual decision? Do you think that Paul had a say-so in whether he could have went back out there or not? Or you think it was one time?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I mean, I don't buy the argument that, like, his stuff was ticking down the way Shelton said. I mean, he went through 3 innings on 26 pitches, guys. Like, the stuff's fine. The stuff's fine. Now, I mean, maybe Paul sit there and said, you know, I'm gassed, I'm tired, I don't feel like I have it. I don't believe that argument. I don't think he did. But I think in 2 years, if that same scenario comes about, maybe less than 2 years, Paul Skenes says, I'm not coming out of the game. You're going to have to pull me off of that mound with something. I'm not leaving. But his 11th start in Major League Baseball, he's probably just going to, kind of take it.
Jason Mackey, the Post-Gazette, joining us here on the Fan Morning Show. And the Fan Morning Show is brought to you by Guardian Protection. Jason, you wrote an excerpt. I'm not going to give everybody your entire column. That would not be a good service to you. But an excerpt here from what you wrote last night into today. Make Skenes an offer that would be tough to refuse. A contract extension far exceeding the richest deal in franchise history by trading a boatload of guaranteed cash now for multiple free agent years later. Do you think that they are going to at least attempt to do that? And what would the likelihood be, do you think, of Paul Skenes saying, okay, I can make that trade-off, still knowing I'm 22 and I could hit free agency at 30?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope they have the conversation. I don't know why you're in business if you don't have the conversation. I do think it's tough to see happening, Adam, for the second part of that question. And I understand Paul's situation, as I wrote about in there. I mean, if you're Paul Skenes, you're weighing in your mind, I can have all of this money now versus, well, I'm going to, give away 2 years where that might be 2 years of prime earning potential with somebody who's going to give me 6-7 years at an absolutely absurd amount if I just carry it through to free agency. So, I mean, I think it warrants a discussion. I can make arguments for and against it on both sides. I mean, you could look at the Pirates situation and say, I mean, you're never going to pay for starting pitching. And they're not. And part of that's not even their own fault. Like, Major League Baseball's financial system is just silly. It doesn't make sense for them to allocate their dollars that way. But, it's kind of a unique situation. You certainly go year to year with Skenes. You start with about $70 million. You tack what that you're going to pay anyway if you're just going year to year with him, and then tack another 70, 100. I don't know what that number would be as I floated in the column, but it's an interesting argument that why not have the discussion with him? Look at what he represents. Look at how good he is. Look at what he's been since May 11th. I get it.
Jason, we were discussing earlier that you have to give credit when credit is due, and we were giving credit to the Pirates of actually making the right decision around this time last year of drafting Paul Skenes 1-1. They had options, and we don't know how that all went down. Wyatt Langford was out there. Dylan Cruz obviously was out there. In your knowledge or your opinion, how close was it for them possibly drafting somebody else than Paul Skenes?
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Doran, and I was thinking about this because I was in Seattle last year chasing this stuff, and like 2 days before the draft, I had people telling me, like, Max Clark's the guy, Wyatt Langford's the guy, Dylan Cruz is the guy, and it speaks to what an absurd time it is, I think, probably with any sport. When I look back on it now, I can't imagine it was terribly close. I mean, no, I say that, and also inside of it, like, I understand the Pirates do their due diligence on a lot of things. That's just their style. Like, they analyze and look at a lot of players. So I'm not saying they didn't look at these other guys, because I know they did. But if I'm stacking out Skenes and what he represents for my franchise, Dylan Cruz, et cetera, I mean, like I said before, this is just somebody that they can't otherwise get. They're not going to otherwise pay for. I don't know how you can pass on them. So at the end of the day, I would have to imagine that it was a pretty clear-cut decision after doing all of their homework to draft Paul Skenes.
Will the Pirates, here comes, will they approach this offseason? I mean, we can extend it out even to the deadline and do what is necessary here. Like, you can make an argument, and we have made the argument, you're probably not, and these are big words, going to have a better chance to win the World Series than for however long you have Paul Skenes. Are they going to act like it?
I can't tell you how scary that is as a former beat writer and current columnist to say, will the Pirates? Dude, I have no idea where that could go. Do I think they're going to behave like they have a chance in this thing? I mean, to a degree, yes. I think what I've learned covering them, Adam, is their definition of that and the outside world's definition of that often aren't the same thing. But
can they meet at least their definition of it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think they'll meet their definition of it. Can we meet halfway? That would be great.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you look at this thing and see, what Bubba Chandler's doing in Double-A and what I think is going to continue. Thomas Harrington, another guy. Like, they've got some good pitching prospects coming up. You look at Skenes, you look at Jared Jones, you look at Mitch Keller. The way they're stocked. Yes, you need a couple moves to get over the hump. And we've been saying that this season too. There are 2024 moves they need to make. I mean, I don't know what we're doing here if you don't look at that sort of core and add to it and make a run and push and all these things. So yes, I mean, I do believe that's going to happen. I just don't think it's ever going to meet, maybe what we want or think should happen.
Well, Jason, you just said there's 2024 moves that they need to make. They need to make moves, obviously, but do you think that they will? Do you think that they will? And have you heard anything on that end of a potential trade?
I think they will, Doran. Do I think they're going to land the biggest fish on the free agent market? No, I don't. But Taylor Ward was a name that came out with Paul Zeiss talking about, they're in discussions with him. That's somebody who makes a lot of sense. Do I see them adding a player like that, maybe specifically Taylor Ward? Yes, absolutely. And there's some pitchers out there. I don't know. I'm kind of curious on that end now, given the injuries they have. You look at Jared Jones is down, Bailey Falter's down, Martin Perez, I'm not sure what they have there. I'd like to believe in Quinn Priester, but like, if there's a starting pitching addition that they could make, I don't know if I'd call that a priority. I think I'd rather have the bat. But yeah, do I think they're going to do something to improve this year's team? I do.
This is more just in the moment now. And by the way, like, to your question, Doran, and your answer there, they were so close, I feel like, to teetering off the end to where they'd be 6 or 7 games back at the All-Star break. And now you're set up so good here with the White Sox. I mean, bare minimum, take 2 out of 3. But anyhow, on for tonight's game, do we have any word on who's going to be the starter? Because it looks like you're at home. I don't know that you're following. You're out there right now.
Wait, you're talking about me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were asking Doran. No word on who the starter is. Marco Gonzalez would make a lot of sense. You're pointing. Was that your call?
That's what I called. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, that makes all the sense in the world. Again, I have not, walked into a clubhouse. Nobody's walked into that clubhouse today, but that's my expectation.
Do you think that Paul Skenes, and this is just an opinion deal, but you're a columnist, do you think Paul Skenes is going to start the All-Star game?
I do. Did you guys see what Torey Lovullo said last night?
I did.
Bob Nightingale just tweeted too.
Did he tweet that about Lovullo, or did he?
Yeah, Torey Lovullo says all starters are deserving, but in particular, Paul Skenes, he's been an unbelievable addition.
Yeah, I just filed something on that. I don't know if it's on our website or not, but to me, he basically said Paul Skenes is starting without saying Paul Skenes is starting. He's created a lot of interest in Major League Baseball. This is Lovullo talking. I'm going to be situationally aware when making this decision. I mean, my guy, situationally aware in making this decision is starting Paul Skenes, is it not? Like, no offense, Reynaldo Lopez or Ranger Suarez, but Paul Skenes is the guy. He's the person everybody, if you're acknowledging the attention paid to this in terms of getting eyeballs on the product, it's Paul Skenes all day long.
We talked about this earlier. If you went to local bars around the country and just sort of tried to canvass and you asked, name 5 National League starting pitchers, you're probably going to find most people can't. And when they start naming them, it is Paul Skenes. Like, Paul Skenes would be one of one. So from a novelty standpoint, you got to do it. But then he's also been the best pitcher.
Right.
Like, well, kind of an easy decision.
I don't even see how it's a discussion, Adam. I mean, I guess if like Chris Hale was healthy, if Zach Wheeler was healthy, if these guys that like have been wire to wire better and are like more established veteran, I don't know. I struggle making that argument because it's a darn exhibition game.
Jason,
like
what's the cons? What's the negatives too? Like, I mean, that's kind of what we talked about. I was like, what's the con of actually just doing it?
I guess putting Paul in a situation where like these older guys hate him because they think they're getting like preferential treatment, or if you're affecting contract bonuses or something, if guys have like, money tied to an All-Star game start.
Well, then pitch better than Paul Skenes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I also don't know how many Major League Baseball contracts have incentives tied to starting an All-Star game, that sort of thing. I mean, and again, you can isn't the job to attract the most attention possible?
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, Reynaldo Lopez. Paul Skenes has attracted more attention than you. And this isn't everybody gets a trophy. Just, that's who people want to see. I think that's very obvious. And that's what Major League Baseball would be giving them. They're doing the best thing for their sport by putting Paul Skenes out there.
So when Skenes mows through the first 3 hitters, does he get a second inning? Or do they pull him after one no-hitter?
No, I would not do that.
They got to let Paul Skenes throw a no-hitter in the All-Star game. Jason,
and
this
then
was
everybody
wonderful.
can react.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you, buddy. We appreciate it.
All right, guys. Always a pleasure.
You're the man.
Thanks, Jason.